Welcome to the board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have a full board tonight. Hopefully, Clerk O'Connor had a nice vacation, and we welcome her back. Additions, deletions. Seeing none, I'd like to hear a motion for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Our agenda is set. Public comment on agenda items. Do we have any public comment on agenda items?
Bill is behind the podium.
I see Bill. I can see
You
Bill.
can't, today you can see him.
Yeah, I can't.
Nobody, Jim.
Lenny's behind there. And I can't even see him.
No, now you can.
Nope. Oh. Thank you for that. All right. Brian, do you have anything? No public comment, so consent agenda.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda 23-112, which consists of minutes of the February 12th, 2024 regular meeting, check registers dated through February 16th, 2024, and an ACO change order.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve consent agenda 23-112, which consists of the minutes of the February 12th, 2024 regular meeting, the check register dated through February 16th, 2024, and an ACO change order. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Very good. All right. Action items. Carl, you have the pleasure of the first one.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, and it is indeed a pleasure to recommend to the Township Board the adoption of the recommendation of the Groseal Fire Commission to purchase a new 103-foot aerial ladder truck from Payette Sales and Service via the Sourcewell procurement portal, contract number 200152, in the amount of $1,776,194.
Second?
Very good. A little history on that, Carl?
Thank you, sir. This is important and interesting in light of the history here. The current aerial truck was purchased in 1997. The truck lacks basic safety equipment designed to prevent serious injury or death to our firefighters. For example, the crew compartment of the truck does not have seats for the firefighters, nor seat belts and seat belt warnings. Currently, our firefighters deploy in the aerial without seating and are left to don their firefighting equipment while on their knees and without seat belts to use while the aerial is being operated. The lack of seats, seat belts, and seat belt warnings are a statutory violation of safety standards, including NFPA, MIOSHA, and OSHA. Unbuckled firefighters is the second most leading cause of death of firefighters in the line of duty deaths. During a 10-year period, 148 firefighters were killed and 970 injured in response-related auto accidents. In 1 year alone, 970 firefighter injuries occurred while fire departments were delivering emergency services. A lack of seatbelts was determined to be a major cause of these deaths and injuries. The new area will have seating, seatbelts, warning devices, and other safety equipment that will comply with all current safety standards and will vastly improve the safety of our citizen firefighters. The current aerial ladder truck is now 26 years of age. The aerial was declared unsafe for highway speeds by an outside certified truck repair shop due to significant corrosion, causing a complete failure in the suspension. Corrosion to the beam suspension of the aerial caused a complete break in the walking beam. This type of corrosive failure experienced with the current aerial is indicative of the age of our aerial and is anticipated. The expectation that these types of corrosive failures will occur to aged trucks is embodied in the cautions and warnings, the time limitations noted by the National Fire Protection Standard 1912, which states that fire apparatus older than 15 years should be evaluated for rebuilding due to body, chassis, and suspension failures. National Fire Protection Standard 1912 further states that any fire apparatus older than 25 years should be replaced. The NFPA 1912 should act as a warning to the township that the 27-year-old aerial should be replaced now. The new aerial will significantly improve firefighting and life-saving methods. Our current aerial only has a reach of 69 feet. The setback requirements of deploying the aerial are 30 feet from a two-story dwelling. This limits the current aerial's capabilities. The size of homes built on Grosley over the last 2 decades and the significant use of combustible synthetic materials in recent construction indicates that it is likely our current aerial is subpar for the fire department to fulfill its mission statement and protect life and safety. The new aerial purchase would have a far greater reach, 103 feet versus 69, and carry 18% more water, thus significantly maximizing life safety and firefighting capabilities, while at the same time improving the capabilities of the fire department to rescue firefighters and residents from dangerous fires. In speaking with Chief Camilleri earlier today, Chief indicated that truck safety is rated on a 1 to 4 scale or status with the inspections. The 1 being out of service and 4 being in excellent condition. A recent inspection of this truck rated it as a 2, and that was because of a hose coupler to the ladder aerial was failing. Metal and material parts to that were failing and thus making it unserviceable and virtually unusable, certainly unreliable. And it is with that being said, I am requesting that this board unanimously approve the purchase of that from existing fire department funds. Those funds have been approved by and levied to the taxpayers over the course of time so that they would have an opportunity to replace this equipment as it became aged and outdated. Chief, have I missed anything? Is there anything you want to say? Anything you want to add?
Just short and sweet. I thank the board for taking the time. I thank all the commission members. I thank the members of the fire department. We had a committee. We met over a few months, so I thank them all. Carl, you are exactly right. This is about being compliant. This is about being progressively respectful to the citizen firefighter's mission. It's a very difficult mission. The construction materials used in current construction are resin and glues. They combust very, very fast. And the extended reach of the ladder, we will carry I gave you the wrong figure. We will carry 30% more water than our current aerial. It will give us time to, let's say, obtain H2O from a secondary water source. That time is very critical. I drive up and down Grosse-Ile and I see the size of the houses. I see the setbacks. We need that extra reach, and it's about being progressive and not dismissive of our mission. So I thank the board. I've been studying it with the committee for 3 months. I could go on, but I think you've generally touched on everything very well, and I thank the board. And one last thing I want to say, and I want to make it clear to the citizens. We are asking for no money out of what we already have saved in our accounts. I commend all the previous boards, all the previous commissions, all the previous chiefs. We've been saving this money for 30 years. It's been disciplined. It's been in recognition that this equipment needs to be replaced sometime in the future. And we can't go back to the citizens and ask for these large sums. We have to plan for it. And I thank all the prior FD Commission and all the legacy members that are no longer with us. They would love to see this momentous purchase, and I thank everybody. Thank you very much.
And as you, I mean, as we can see from the dollar amount, this equipment is not getting any less expensive. And if we had to, at this point, go to the people and say, hey, we need $1.7 million, that would be a hefty tax. So the equipment tax, the millage that they pay is for this reason specifically, and it shows that it works. John, I also want to thank you. You've done an excellent job of educating us over the last few weeks. Memo after memo on this. A lot of it certainly helped me go to sleep. But you know, we absolutely know what's going on, and this is basic. I mean, it's very basic. Equipment wears out. This equipment has worn out, and we need a new truck.
Right. I missed one group that I want to thank, and that is the Groseal taxpayer. They are the ones funding this. They are the ones recognizing that the fire department is the platinum asset, and they are our own citizens that come on these calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year for a very, very low comparison cost. And so I want to thank the Groseal taxpayer for approving our millages, recognizing this stuff is, something that we got to save for, and I really appreciate all their support. Thank you.
Jim, a quick question, if I may, of you. When it helped put you to sleep, was it the part where you were reading the memos or took comfort in knowing what was going on?
No, it was when I got to the end. After reading everything, I was ready for a nice sound sleep.
I think I drove you almost crazy with the factoids why we need to purchase this.
Well, and Duncan used to get a kick out of me because I'd read all that stuff, and
right.
and they are by no means short.
Yeah.
When you start going through the specs and everything, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So anyway, nice job.
I'd also like to thank Tim Lorraine and Lonnie Pizzeris for coming out tonight. Gentlemen, is there anything that we've missed on this? But if not, thank you for coming out.
Uda, what do you have?
Yeah, well, I was going to do like a little humble brag because 27 years ago, when I was first elected clerk, one of the first things I did, I think it was my first 2 weeks in office, Kenny Fisher brought our township treasurer and I together, and we signed the check to buy this truck. But as Carl was reading everything that's wrong with this truck, I'm like, well, maybe I don't want to take too much credit for this. I like to think that after 27 years, I've held up a little better. But again, the hard work of the department in maintaining this vehicle, that we got 27 years of use out of this vehicle, and it was about $700,000 at the time, and still I think it's the biggest check I ever signed, ever, but certainly for the township. If you think about the current price, just a little over double, but for 27 years you made that vehicle work, kept us safe with that vehicle. It was state of the art at its time. So, but that changes. So, and again, I think it was past boards, past administrations, a lot of the same people on the fire commission and so forth, though, who did this capital improvement within the limits that we were allowed to save money. Because again, we have a mandate to spend the money that the taxpayers allot to us, that we were able to save this up and earmark it for this particular rainy day.
And one thing I want to add, because, the citizen doesn't, I don't know if they know all the preparation. You bring up the plan. Here is our capital and replacement plan. We created this, Chief Murdoch created this 30 years ago. We stick to it. We have what equipment we have, material equipment, how much it costs, and how much it's going to cost to replace it. And then we look at our equipment millage, or our equipment fund, our savings, and we allocate across the years what needs to be replaced, and we're going to pay for it. We never come and ask the citizens to put more money in than we already have. So, Joe, you were on the fire department, so, I'm sure it was around back in your day. So, I don't know how long ago that was. I won't mention it, but
horse and buggy.
Yeah, right. Buckets and water, right, Joe?
We used to
Yeah.
pump to get the water.
But anyway,
Horse-drawn.
it's been a plan, and I
Thank
thank
you,
the
John.
whole board.
Yeah, thank you. Other comments?
Jim, if I could, thank you, sir. John, I just want to say, absolutely, we met on this. I'm absolutely in favor. But there's one thing, maybe not that you forgot or anyone else forgot, but you and the individuals of this fire department and the previous, through Duncan's time, and I'm not sure. I think who just said Kenny Fisher was the one that was the chief. But this has lasted so long. This is going to be sold, though. This is not just like given or going to the junkyard. It's going to be sold to, it's unfortunate, to a less fortunate department, maybe up north, a smaller department. So we're also recouping because how you take care of your equipment.
That's right.
So it's not something that we just need a new one and it's over, and we're just towing this one to the junkyard because we didn't take care of it. You took care of it. It's in good working order for, and I don't mean the term, but lack of a better term, a less fortunate less fortunate fire department.
You're right.
So
All
you're
of our
getting a
equipment.
return on your investment also,
Yeah.
and it's because of what you just said, how you take care of your equipment, how Duncan's individuals took care of their equipment, and how Kenny Fisher took care of their equipment. And it really says something about how you do things in this fire department and the fiscal responsibility that you have, and you continue it with the management of your capital fund for new equipment.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And you're right. We're going to sell what we have, all our equipment. I mean, I think we sold a truck and it went out to Iowa, somewhere in the Midwest. So we do sell it. We don't let it go cheap. So we're going to get six figures for what we have. So the purchase price, you can kind of say it's going to be set off with a significant sale revenue of what we have. So, and that money, if anyone's listening, goes to the equipment millage. It's not going to go anywhere else. It's going to go right back to the fire department, as I'm sure all of you will insist.
Right.
And this is on top of an ambulance that you've already purchased, used out of the same fund, so.
That's right. Sticking to our capital replacement plan, we plan for these expenditures. We do not go back to the taxpayer and say we need more. We save within our own department and allocate year after year
Yep.
to put in our bank.
That's what we have our
Right.
equipment millage for.
I
Yes.
just have one more comment, actually, because of all this talk about taxpayers. I think another benefit of our equipment standards, our equipment maintenance, and of course the staffing standards, but if I understand correctly too, this is part of what gives us such a high rating in our fire protection, which keeps our insurance rates down as residents. So, it's one thing to say we're a small community with a really great fire department, but that also pays dividends on the flip side that our insurance rates aren't going to be
You're
that
exactly
high.
right, Uto. We have to go through an audit every year. They measure everything from the number of fire hydrants we have out on the street to our equipment, the location to hospitals. So, and then they rate it. The insurance industry rates our community, and then based on the rating will impact your premiums. So it's all together. It's all fabric, moving our community together.
Yeah.
And this is,
If you look at your insurance, you'll see we're rated high.
yeah, right. And I want to say one last thing. I'm sorry. This is a great
Yes,
day
John, go
for
ahead.
Grozio community. We can differ on a lot of things, but we can also come together and unanimously approve this piece of equipment for our citizens and our firefighters. So kudos to Grozio. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
John.
With that, we have no more comment. We have a motion to adopt the recommendation of the Grozio Fire Commission to purchase a new 103-foot aerial ladder truck from Payette Sales and Service via the Sourcewell procurement portal, contract number 200152, in the amount of $1,776,194. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There you go, John. if you would come up here. I want to give this to you.
And if you stop by first, John, stop by first thing tomorrow, the check's ready.
Thanks, John. Very good. Now let's see if we can do as good with the landfill contract. David, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now the real exciting stuff.
Based upon a recommendation by the Groseal Public Services Commission, the Groseal Township Board hereby approves the attached agreement between Groseal Township and the City of Riverview for waste disposal services pending approval by legal counsel.
Second.
All right, David, fire away.
Okay. Well, basically, the landfill in Riverview is where our trash hauling waste is taken. Our agreement expires, I believe, the end of this next month, I believe.
Yes.
And so that had to be renewed. The commission spent a bit of time going back and forth on whether to renew this. It's only a 3-year contract because Riverview isn't sure what's going to happen to their dump or the landfill, if it's going to be around after the 3 years and for how long. So we opted to stay with Riverview under a 3-year contract, and then in 3 years we'll have to make another decision based on what happens. And that's.
Oh, hang on. Please do. Thank you.
Anything else, Derek? Just
a couple of items worth noting. We did look at a couple of different options, other disposal locations, and costs that were presented by those other locations. And Riverview was found to be the most affordable. A lot of the reason behind that was because the distance of travel would have been greater at any other landfills. There would have been costs associated with that travel that would have been more than the savings we would have achieved on a per tonnage cost. So this is one component of our waste handling services. This is the disposal component. Our hauling service contract is up in November, so we'll be talking more about that as we get a little bit closer. The DPS Commission has already been talking about that and did at their last meeting, but eventually something will be coming to the board in the form of recommendation as far as hauling services are concerned. This is just for municipal solid waste. Our yard waste and our recycling go to different facilities, and those are built into the price of our hauling contract. That's all I have.
Any comments? Questions? Seeing none, we have a motion. Based upon the recommendation by the Groseal Public Service Commission, the Groseal Township Board hereby approves the attached agreement between Groseal Township and the City of Riverview for waste disposal services pending approval by legal counsel. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have Riverview for 3 more years. Thank you. All right, David.
Okay, this one's even more exciting. Based upon a recommendation from the Groseal Public Services Commission, the Groseal Township Board hereby approves the extension of a contract with Gullet Sanitation for the decanning and hauling of biosolids for the Groseal wastewater treatment plant for fiscal year 2024 to 2025.
Second.
Thank you.
And I'm going to ask Derek to explain.
It's kind of easy.
It is.
Kind of easy.
So, in simple terms, there's wastewater that comes into the wastewater treatment plant. One of the primary processes over there is to separate the solids out from the wastewater, and then the water is treated and discharged. Those solids are stored in a large storage vault in the ground at the plant. Those biosolids have to be dewatered, so they basically press them, draw the water out of them, and then they mix them with a polymer, put them in lined containers, and then those lined containers are transported to a landfill for disposal. So the service that is being offered here or is being contracted here is that pressing, mixing, and hauling off-site. We only do this once a year because we have enough capacity at the plant to store biosolids for a 12-month period. We normally do this in the spring. Gullett's been providing this service to us, I think, this will be the 4th year if this contract is awarded. We had bid this 4 years ago, and they were significantly close to half of what the cost was on the other bidders that we had received. So this would be the 4th year we've extended this contract, but the increases have either been non-existent or have been very limited. So included in this proposal and the paperwork that was attached are the increases that are being proposed, but they are fairly minor when you consider the rate of inflation, and also these increases are off of 2022 prices, because last year we did not have an increase. So as far as Gullett's direct cost, they've put a proposal forward of a 3.4% increase for processing and a 4% increase for mobilization. There are some increases, larger increases for disposal and polymer, but those are costs that we would experience with any other vendor. Those are pass-through increases from the landfill and from the polymer manufacturer. So the DPS Commission has recommended this because Gullett's been a good vendor to use and also at a very competitive price. They're familiar with the plant, and they've done work for us for a long period of time, relatively speaking. So we'd like to continue with the contract with them and continue their services for another year.
Yep. Questions or comments? Excuse me, comments? Seeing none, we have a motion based upon the recommendation of the Groseal Public Service Commission that the Groseal Township Board hereby approves the extension of a contract with Gullett Sanitation for the decanting and hauling of biosolids for the Groseal wastewater treatment plant for fiscal year 2024-2025. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have our sludge hauling. And prior to this, we actually just hauled the sludge. So we had a lot more trips by hauling all that water also and disposing of it.
Yeah, there's another method called land apply where they'll actually take that sludge and put it on farmers' fields. A lot of that has fallen into a lack of preference because of two main reasons. One, the field conditions when they went to go to apply this, they're not reliable. So you can't take a truck out in the field in the spring normally because of the ground conditions. Number two, with PFAS, that's been a concern about applying if there's any PFAS in the waste material, which there could be, and there is normally, putting that on fields. And then also heavy metals associated with sludge. You can't put it on fields that have any food source that would be consumed by people. So with those issues, the majority of the wastewater treatment plants have moved away from a land apply option.
Okay, very good. All right, that brings us to public comment. Everybody knows the drill. Everybody that's here is used to it. Do we have any public comment? Mr. Heil.
That's all we did.
Yeah.
Is this high enough to hear the microphone?
Yes,
Well, once in a
sounds
while, you
good.
get a comment on that. What I'm going to talk about is
Name
brief.
and
I'm sorry. Bill Heil.
You've been away for a while.
Yeah. Bill Heil, I live on East River.
Thank you.
What I'm going to say is nothing new to you. You've heard me say this for decades, but I'm talking mainly about budget planning. I just had a series of little reminders come through on things that are happening. We had a water main break, and I'm thinking it's budget consideration time, and we've got capital investments we have to make and think of them, and lo and behold, what better segue than the fire department needed a truck and plan for it? It makes my point. And what I'm encouraging is that with some thought, we try to take that same discipline that bought that truck and extend it to other needs that we have here in the community, like our pensions, the water mains. There's a lot of things that we have that are needing extensive financial attention. When you plan for them and set the money aside, it's easier. You have an installment plan, like 27 years to put out $1.7 million. That's a lot better than coming out of nowhere with a surprise. We have to know how to do that. We have to be able to do it. I think that we should all accept each other for who and what we are, and if we need to learn skills or if we need to get consultation to make that happen, it's wise to invest in that because it will improve our skills for planning for our future, and that would be a service, as I see it, for this board to our community.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening. My name's Kevin Flavin, Parke Lane. Thank you, Mr. Heil, for bringing up the budget. Going forward, we have talked multiple times about a multi-year capital improvement budget, and I think it's most important, considering what we're going through now with the police millage, that we come up with what has in the past been called a 5-year plan for the police department. I think that every department in the township would do well putting together a 5-year plan so that we can see 5 or 6-year plan now is what the suggestion is. That would help put, so that we would know going forward what our expenses and costs will be when we budget for police, recreation, etc. The other thing I'd like to suggest is that, and we have brought this up again, that the committees and commissions provide their agenda packets and their proposed spending for the coming tax year and put that online so that the rest of the community can see how the dollars are going to be spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Agenda and budget. Anyone else? Mr. Z. How are
Ladies
you?
and gentlemen, Bob Zelasko, Blauvelt. Derek, are you going to comment on the updated status of the demolition of the stacks?
I think Jim probably will.
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks.
Okay. Morgan?
Thinking of.
We don't have all night.
All right, Jade. Yeah. All right, and that pretty much takes care of the public comment. Brian, do you have anything? Okay, clerk's report.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Well, let's start with Brian giving a quick update. As you know, tomorrow is the presidential primary here on Grosse Ile, and we also have a millage question on the ballot. We have just completed 9 days of early voting, and I've asked Brian to give us a brief report on the numbers. I was voter number 8 during early voting, which was kind of cool on a Saturday. And so, Brian, why don't you take it away for a moment?
Yes, early voting was very successful in my opinion. It started a little slow, but picked up as the week went on, and the last weekend, really, we had 45 on Sunday, which was easily our highest day. voters were very excited to be able to come in and vote early and put their ballot into a tabulator. It was good. I have a feeling as we go forward, I mean, we had, I would say, at least 15 to 20 people walk in today asking if they could early vote today. So I have a feeling this will grow and catch on, and I expect probably for August, we had 193 total. I would guess we're going to have a good chance of doubling that. So, it's a good thing. More opportunities, for those people that can't get out to the polls tomorrow, which are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. To be able to, have the opportunity, if they didn't want to vote absentee, to actually be able to vote their ballot and put it in the tabulator. So it was good.
And I want to congratulate you on a fine job of identifying for the public the process to go through, putting it on our social media and different outlets so that people who read different social media outlets had an opportunity to see and learn how that process worked. I think one of the, as you pointed out, one of the beauties of this is you put your ballot directly into the tabulator. Nobody else touches your ballot. And not to say that the absent ballot counting board, they do a very fine job, and this will take some of the volume away and make that a more streamlined process as well. Again, I think short of ranked voting, this is one of those things that really makes voting easier for people. Again, tomorrow the forecast is for rain. And I know there are going to be seniors like my dad who will not want to leave the house. And, they will have had the confidence in voting in person and yet being able to do it earlier at their convenience. The next thing I would like to say is touching on our Grosse Ile Township communications. I just want to remind the public that we have a public and direct access to real-time, true township information through all our township communication media. We have a YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel that rebroadcasts, replays all of our different meetings. So when I was away on vacation, I could actually watch this meeting take place. And I could actually show it to my husband the very next day to say, oh my gosh, can you believe what happened there? That's a very great resource for information for the township. We also have our website. We're on Instagram. Unfortunately, not many people are availing themselves of this information and relying on other privately run social media outlets, and which leads to a lot of questions always. What is the real story? So come on and look at the township's official organs for information. And then I am the liaison for the Community Recreation Commission. We are gearing up for another fantastic year of recreation, public recreation here on Grosse Ile. We are preparing to open a new restaurant, the Tipsy Fish at Water's Edge. We have a great program at the pool taking shape, the golf taking shape, the marina, a lot of fantastic things happening. If you'd like to take part in one of our meetings, not just watch it online, come to our meeting on Tuesday. It's Thursday. It's always the first Thursday of the month. So it's Thursday, March 7th at 6 p.m. here in the building. We have a very dynamic and active commission, and we are always looking for volunteers for Island Fest. We are always looking for people to run programs. So if you have ideas, come and see us at the CRC. And with that being said, that's the clerk's report for today.
I just have one question regarding the early voting. Do you or Brian, do you know, is the state going to revisit that now that after this cycle, to take a look at it and see if it was actually efficient and worthwhile? Obviously, anybody that took advantage of it, whether it be 2 people or 200, for them it was good. But looking at the cost of what you have to do for those 9 days, is that going to be looked at, or are they just going full steam ahead?
No, because it was a voter-approved proposition So it is now in the
It's just part
Constitution,
of it.
and that is
It's
it,
just part
unless
of
it
it.
goes back to the people to be taken away. That is
But
it.
I would
So-
like to add that now that it's done, over and done, the Bureau of Elections, the governor's office, a lot of communities are hailing it as a success.
Well, they were hailing it as a success before it was a success, so,
Well-
you know, that's the political
That's
side
the
of it.
political side, but again, I speak to a lot of voters, in a
and-
lot of communities. I think people really like having this extra.
And I think just like when they expanded the absentee ballot, you're going to see this expand.
Yeah.
And I certainly would hope it would.
And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this supplanted some other things that we were doing in the election process that helps to mitigate costs too. Because the more you have early voting, the less you're going to need for absent voting, the less you might have at the precincts. So I think in the end, it will all come out, I think we'll discover it all comes out pretty even.
Will it cut our donut and pizza bills?
Yes, actually, because our early voting teams didn't get any. Or should I not have said that out loud? Oh, my gosh. All of you listening, no.
Thank you, Uda.
I did have one question of Brian, if I may.
Yes.
And that is, Brian, I know this is the first time we've tried this, but I understand that you've put in 15 days, consecutive days, working on this. You have a primary coming up in August, and then the general election in November. How much time have you put in to make this happen? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, there has to be a coordinator there every day. So I was there for all 9 days from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So, but somebody's got to do it. So
And then you're looking at tomorrow, and that's going to be a long day
yes, tomorrow
and night.
I will be here 5 a.m. and probably be out of here by 11. So,
I just want to say thank you then.
yeah, thank
Well,
you.
But that being said, Carl, in the
And
future.
thank you, Madam Clerk.
No. Brian, I think in the future foresees that coordinator's not always going to be him. This was certainly the shakedown cruise, and we needed the co-captain of the team out there to make sure that everything was running smoothly. So as this process becomes more normalized and typical, his time investment in that will be in training the next person to do that job. But I think the residents do owe a great thanks to our team. We have a really splendid election team. Right now in the office, it's really only Brian and Elena Farmer. The elected clerk is part-time and is more political than administrative. By law, there are very few things the elected clerk can do on an election day anymore. Even though I am now trained in qualified voter file, that was fun. But long story short, I think we have a very strong team. We have a lot of wonderful volunteers. And of course, we're always looking for more volunteers. We're always recruiting at the school level because we want to bring in the high school kids and the college kids. So, and that's how we got Brian. Brian came in as a young poll inspector. Was it not 100 years ago, but maybe 90, because I've been here about 100.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
You ask the questions, you get the answers.
Thank you. Treasurer's report. Hang on, Bill.
You let Carl
Go-
talk.
Carl's on the board.
Roseville winter property taxes were due February 14th. As of February 15th, a 3% penalty was added to any unpaid winter tax amounts and can still be paid at Township Hall until this Thursday, February 29th. After that, all unpaid summer and winter taxes are considered delinquent and must be paid directly to Wayne County with additional penalties and interest. The Wayne County online payment link which is waynecounty.com/PTA, will have the current 2023 delinquent tax information posted later this week. And you can make payments directly online, by mail, or at the Wayne County kiosk located in the Brownstown Sunoco station located at 21980 Sibley Road. As of yesterday, as of yesterday or through yesterday, we've collected 96.2% of the 2023 winter tax rolls and made all appropriate distributions of those monies. And I would like to read, and this is from the Wayne County Public Health Community Commission. They have a hotline that maybe some people have used, maybe not, but anybody who needs to contact the Public Health Community Response Hotline, they have a new phone number, which is 734-858-1922. And because they've realigned their communications within Wayne County. So I just wanted to mention that if anybody has need to contact the health department, emergency health department at Wayne County. And the next DPS Commission meeting is on March 12th, which is a Tuesday, at 7 o'clock in this room. And the next Airport Commerce Park Commission meeting is on Monday, March 18th, here in the boardroom as well. And that concludes my report, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, David. Jameson.
Okay, good evening. One of the commissions I sit on is the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, or Committee, I believe is the technical term. Recently re-elected chairperson Brian Pollock, so congratulations, Brian, on a future year of more Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee work. So I think I mentioned this maybe a meeting or two ago, but Carl, I'd like to talk to you about doing some kind of open space BPAC crossover, maybe finding some projects we could put our heads together on. And then in March, we're going to be taking a look at all the trail systems and identifying areas that need maintenance. I talked to Derek about kind of a good way to do that. And then refined it a little bit. So we're going to try to rate sections of trail as, needs replacement, needs repairs major, needs repair minor, and needs no adjustment at all. And then I also sit on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We will be meeting tomorrow to hear an appeal, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jameson. Carl.
First of all, I'd like to thank the board for approving the purchase of the apparatus. It is just something that needed to be done, and I thank you for your support, as does the fire department. Second thing is, I do not have a report from Greenways Open Space, but I also want to thank Mr. DeBose for his updates. I look in my email, it seems like every couple of days we have a report on what's going on leaking in and out of McLeod Steel, as well as the latest Hennepin Point monitoring. That takes a lot of time. I know that you and Trustee Porcerelli have been involved with McLeod, and I just want to thank you gentlemen for taking the time to do that. It is a lot of work, and Kyle, I thank you for all the reading material. I think I had 17 pages today. But it is great that we live in a community where we have such interest from a board member that really takes this stuff very seriously. The monitoring of the Hennepin Point, particularly with north winds, is important, and I think we're all looking forward to the smokestacks coming down. I unfortunately remember there was a Fox 2 news team out there that was monitoring it, and they had this wall of dust just coming. You could see it coming to the desk, and then they're covered in it. And I'm looking forward to your report on that, Mr. Supervisor. But the tower's coming down. Hopefully it's going to be something that is not a problem. I have seen and had some questions asked about what is going on. What are we looking at if there's a west wind that time? Are we going to have same kind of dust and blowing and possible hazardous materials coming onto the island? So with that, I conclude my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Kyle?
Thank you. I sit on the Planning Commission, which as of now is scheduled to meet on Wednesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. I will update folks as we get closer to that date what we will be discussing. Thank you, Mr. Bletcher, for your comments on the emails I've been sending on Hennepin Point and McLeod Steel. I'm hoping that there won't be too many more for a while because we got some good updates going on there. I will say, and I don't know if Supervisor Budney or others will comment on this, but we had Congresswoman Dingell had a environmental town hall last week on Wednesday. The information was good. I don't think there was a lot that was new there, but I think the benefit of having town halls like that is you get a lot of important people in the same room. And I know I was able to get some really good information afterwards. On McLeod Steel specifically, I was able to meet with an official from Wayne County that monitors these things, get the commitment to put signs up at the bridge there, which they just did, I heard today, so I was really happy about that. And then more importantly, as Carl mentioned on Point Hennepin, I know the township has been working to try to get a statement on this since the article came out almost a month ago, but was able to get in touch with someone at Eagle that put me in touch with someone else, that put me in touch with someone else to the person that has been working on Hennepin Point for 2.5 years. So it was good to see that they had been working at Hennepin Point for 2.5 years. The article says that the last that they interacted with Eagle was in 2006. So I had heard something about it, but to actually know the person that's working on it for the last 2.5 years was good to know. He was able to tell me that they are planning to do testing this summer, mostly around the concerns that the article raises around the distiller blow-off, DBO, that might be leaching into the Detroit River, as well as possible mercury that they're not sure about. That's what I think he's mostly been working on, but in response to the article, they're also going to be adding air monitoring, it sounds like, this summer. I've from folks I've spoken to, the air monitoring shouldn't be as much of a concern, but it'll be nice to have that there, be sure about that, and be good there. So at least for me, I'm feeling good about those two sites. So I'm hoping there won't be too many more updates for you all on them. But yeah, it's something I take seriously, as you all know, and tend to be good at getting information from these agencies, getting action on them. I've done it with U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, if you guys have seen, EPA, Eagle, Wayne County. So I'll keep pushing when I need to, but right now feel confident about where we are and happy we have the commitment they'll be testing in the summer at Hennepin Point, and I'll just be following up on that as it goes. I will say, sorry, one last thing. I did learn a new thing about, I kind of knew a little bit about the DTE. I guess it's licensed as a landfill where they put fly ash in there, coal byproducts. But it's something that I know Riverview and Trenton have been worried about for a while, so that might come up at some point. But
And that is the old quarry, so if just so everybody
Sibley
understands
Quarry,
that we're talking about.
Yeah, Sibley Quarry. So it sounds like there might be some concerns from Trenton and Riverview around that, but nothing I've heard of so far. So that was something I learned a little bit more about at the meeting. And I will conclude my report there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Joe?
Good evening. I sit on the Police Commission, and we meet the third Tuesday of each month in this boardroom at 7 p.m. And as we spoke earlier, and Uta touched on, and Brian, obviously with the vote tomorrow, there's a police millage vote, and all we ask is that you just please get out and vote. And Uta, is it correct? The times of the polls are 7 to 8? Is that still correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to let you know that. So if you need to get out early, it's 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you, and that's it. Jim.
Thank you, Joe. Before we do the manager's report and my report, Bill, you had something. If you come up, please. And since you're the only guy in the room other than Jade, come on back and ask, if you would, ask your question or.
Thank you. When we were talking about the early voting, there was 193 or 198 people. My question is basically, in a sense of proportion, how does that, what is the total anticipated turnout this year, or if you can do that, compared with previous years? Is this a significant number, or is it a small number? I know there's a number there, but I don't know what to do with it.
No, I mean, I would say this is the first time, so I would say it's a small number. I mean, if you look at that, I mean, you take 193 divided by 9, you're not looking at very many people each day. So it's.
Do you have anticipation that though there will be, you mentioned it might double. We're going to pick up another roughly 200 in.
I would say the more people learn about the early voting and that actually is available, it's going to start to steamroll a little bit more.
Because of the-
I would say in research done in states that have all three, absentee, early voting, and it does come out to about a third each eventually.
Oh, okay.
But obviously that's down the road of doing it for a while.
If I've got this straight, the way you're describing it, I would anticipate you'd have a total turnout as a proportion of the population that would go up because of the convenience of these other methods.
Correct. Being able to come out on a
I think
weekend
that's the
helps.
hope. I think
That's
that's
the
the hope.
I understand.
Because our turnout is notoriously low.
Thanks.
You're welcome, Bill. Derek?
Good evening, Supervisor and members of the board. Just a couple of quick items for tonight. You may or may not have heard the storms that we had in August. The federal government has declared the federal disaster declaration. So if residents did experience damage from the storms in August, there is an application process for assistance. This is going to be posted, if it isn't already, on our website. You can apply for federal assistance using these 3 steps that are shown here on the overhead. You would go to disasterassistant.gov, search for your county. Obviously, Wayne County was one of the counties that disaster declaration was honored. You'll be guided to a login.gov to create an account or a sign-in, and then the rest of the details about how to apply for disaster declaration and not declaration, but assistance is on that website. There are a variety of different restrictions on what you can and you cannot apply for. If you've received a settlement or funding or financing from your private insurance carrier, those type of things are not eligible to be reimbursed for. If you've already been reimbursed in that fashion, that's just one of many other restrictions on these funds. But feel free to go on there. You can go on our website and take a look at this. That way you don't have to refer to this meeting for these instructions. But if you did experience damage in the end of August, please review this for potential federal assistance. A couple other items. We are in the process of setting up the dump the junk date for the spring of '24. We're looking at tentatively now April 27th. So that is the date that we're looking at for dump the junk. We're going to also try to schedule a shredding day on that day as well, potentially. So you'd be able to do your shredding here at Township Hall. Truck would be out front. You'd drop your stuff off and then go down to the DPW yard at the end of Grow for the dump the junk event. To piggyback on Trustee Debusset's comment, we do have a planning commission meeting scheduled for the 20th. I know at the last meeting there were some comments with regards to the special land use application for the church. It looks like it will probably be on that agenda for that meeting. They're in the process of putting the public meeting together, the public notice together. Once that public notice has been formalized and finalized, we will publish that in accordance with the law, but also get it out on our website so people can see what that meeting is about specifically and attend if you're interested. We are going to be having a variety of budget study session meetings in this upcoming month. So look for those dates, but I believe we're looking at the 6th for the study session with the board, and I believe the 11th for the public hearing. Is that accurate? Okay. So keep those dates in your calendar. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. First off, just a couple of things here. Kyle mentioned the EPA meeting. Debbie Dingle and Director of EPA and also Eagle were there. It was a very good meeting. Derek and I attended that also. Although I think it was very beneficial to hear those people tell you why we are where we are. Not that we, as Kyle said, got a whole lot of new information, but they explained why we have no new information, why we're, where we're at this time, and that as new information comes out, as they make decisions, they will get that information out to us. So I thought that was a good meeting. For my board members, as you go to your side commission meetings, make sure at the next one that you have your commissions vote for your chairs and get that information to Margie. Chair elections are each fiscal year, so you can't vote in this fiscal year for 2025 or for 2 years or whatever. It's a year-by-year vote, so make sure you guys get that and get the information to Margie. We've had a lot of phone calls come in about taxes and the increase, and all I would say to that is I had our assistant assessor pen an article that'll be in the Grosse-Ile Grand explaining exactly how that works, and actually it's nothing that we have any control over at a local. It's a state formula. It's been this way ever since Headley came into effect. But it never hurts to get a little a new explanation of it to refresh your memory as to how it works. And it's working exactly as it's supposed to. So there's nothing new here. It's just a matter of how much the values increase, really. So. And that is the reason for the increase in your taxes, is your values. And then DTE, it'd be real easy because the DTE stack explosion has been canceled for Friday. They weren't quite ready. A couple of things had come up that have to be worked out. So Friday is canceled, and as soon as we get a new date, we will let everybody know. Carl, I think you were talking about winds, and believe me, if they are on top of that, so even though they may schedule it for X date at X time, if the weather is not right, that will put it off. It could put it off some time. It could cancel it altogether if it's a bad weather day. So they pretty much do have that covered. In this case, they're not imploding the stacks. What they're basically doing is blowing out the base, and the stacks will fall over, both of them to the north. And they feel there'll be less dust that way. They will have the water cannons, etc., so they'll be shooting it as it comes down. That area will be shot with water, so any dust will be lightened up. So they seem to be on top of it, but we'll keep you up to date on that. I will reiterate what Joe has said. Tomorrow is elections. Please get out and vote. And that is all I have. So with that,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much.